The stench of lilies and the murmur of condolences fill the air as I stand beside Lydia's casket, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I never imagined I'd outlive my own child, but here I am, saying goodbye to my beautiful, talented daughter. Natalie, my eldest, stands across from me, her face a mask of composure. How can she be so calm when her sister lies lifeless before us? As the priest concludes the service, Natalie steps forward, a glint of metal catching my eye. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small flash drive, holding it over Lydia's casket. "I'm sorry, Lydia," she whispers, her voice devoid of emotion, "but I had to do it." With that, she drops the drive into the coffin, the clunk of metal against wood echoing through the silent chapel. Confusion and anger surge through me. What could Natalie possibly mean by that? What secrets does that flash drive hold? I can't bear the thought of my daughter's relationship being tainted by darkness, even in death. As the mourners file out of the chapel, I approach Natalie, my voice trembling. "What was that about, Natalie? What did you put in your sister's coffin?" She looks at me, her eyes cold and distant. "It's nothing, Mom, just a silly inside joke between Lydia and me. Don't worry about it." But I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this than Natalie lets on. The way she dropped that flash drive, the emptiness in her voice. It's unsettling. I excuse myself from the reception, my mind reeling. I need answers, and I need them now. I make my way to Lydia's studio, the place where she poured her heart and soul into her art. As I step inside, the familiar scent of paint and canvas envelops me, and memories of Lydia's laughter and creativity flood my mind. I rummage through her desk, searching for any clues that might shed light on the mystery of the flash drive. As I rifle through papers and sketchbooks, my hand brushes against a small, hidden compartment. With trembling fingers, I pry it open, revealing a letter addressed to me in Lydia's handwriting. "Dear Mom," it begins, "if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and Natalie has finally shown her true colors. There are things you need to know about my sister, things I've kept hidden for far too long." As I read on, my heart sinks with each revelation. Lydia's words paint a picture of jealousy, manipulation, and betrayal, with Natalie at the center of it all. The flash drive, it seems, holds the evidence of Natalie's misdeeds, the very secrets that may have led to Lydia's untimely death. I clutch the letter to my chest, tears streaming down my face. How could I have been so blind to the darkness lurking within my own family? I know now that I must confront Natalie and uncover the truth, no matter how painful it may be. I owe it to Lydia to bring her sister to justice, and to finally lay my beautiful daughter to rest. With a heavy heart and a determined spirit, I tuck the letter into my pocket and head back to the reception, ready to face the secrets that have torn my family apart. "Lydia, my sweet girl, I promise I won't let your memory be tainted by your sister's actions. I will find the truth, and I will make things right, no matter the cost." As I drive home from Lydia's funeral, my mind drifts back to the day when the cracks in our family first began to show. It was a sunny afternoon, and we had gathered at Natalie's lavish house for a family dinner. Lydia had just opened her art studio, and I could see the pride and excitement in her eyes as she shared her plans with us. "I can't believe you're wasting your time with this art nonsense." Natalie scoffed, swirling her wine glass. "When are you going to grow up and get a real job, Lydia?" Lydia's smile faltered, but she held her ground. "This is my real job, Natalie. I'm an artist, and I'm good at what I do." Natalie let out a harsh laugh. "An artist? Please. You'll never make a living off your silly little paintings. You need to face reality and stop being such a dreamer." I could see the hurt in Lydia's eyes, but before I could intervene, Natalie leaned in, her voice dripping with condescension. "Listen, Lydia, I have a business proposition for you. I'm working on a big project, and I could use your help. It's a bit unconventional, but it'll pay well, better than your little art studio ever could." Lydia hesitated, and I could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to prove herself, to show Natalie that she could succeed on her own terms. But Natalie was persistent, and in the end, Lydia relented. "Fine," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll do it, but only because I need the money to keep my studio afloat." Natalie smiled, a cruel, triumphant smile that sent shivers down my spine. "Excellent. I knew you'd see things my way." As the memory fades, I feel a wave of guilt wash over me. I should have spoken up, should have defended Lydia and put a stop to Natalie's manipulation. But I remained silent, hoping that my daughters would work things out on their own. Now, as I sit in Lydia's studio, surrounded by the evidence of Natalie's betrayal, I know that my silence was a mistake. Lydia's journal entries reveal the depths of Natalie's jealousy and the lengths she went to sabotage her sister's career. The emails and photos on the flash drive expose Natalie's involvement in illegal activities, the very scheme she coerced Lydia into joining. I can't help but wonder if things would have been different if I had intervened sooner, if I had stood up to Natalie and protected Lydia from her sister's malice. But I can't change the past. All I can do now is fight for justice, to make sure that Natalie pays for what she's done. With a heavy heart, I gather the evidence and head to the police station. I recount Lydia's struggles and Natalie's manipulations, watching as the detectives' faces grow grim with each revelation. They assure me that they will investigate thoroughly, that they will leave no stone unturned in their quest for the truth. As I leave the station, I feel a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. Lydia may be gone, but her memory lives on, and I will do everything in my power to ensure that her story is told. I will expose Natalie's crimes and bring her to justice, no matter the cost. For Lydia, for the daughter I lost, I will fight. I will be the voice she can no longer raise, the strength she can no longer muster. I will make things right, even if it means tearing our family apart. Natalie may have shattered our lives, but I will pick up the pieces and rebuild, one painful step at a time. The call comes in the middle of the night, jolting me from a restless sleep. It's the police, and the news they bring is like a punch to the gut. Lydia, my beautiful, vibrant daughter, is dead. An overdose, they say, but something in the detective's voice tells me there's more to the story. I can barely process the information as I stumble through the motions of planning Lydia's funeral. The grief is overwhelming, but it's the questions that keep me up at night. How did Lydia, who had always been so full of life, fall victim to drugs? And why, even in death, does Natalie seem so unnervingly calm? I try to push my suspicions aside, but they gnaw at me, refusing to be silenced. It's not until the funeral, when Natalie throws that flash drive into Lydia's coffin, that I know I can no longer ignore the truth. There's something sinister at play, and I'm determined to uncover it. As soon as the service ends, I corner Natalie, my voice shaking with a mixture of grief and anger. "What was on that flash drive, Natalie? What are you hiding?" Natalie's eyes narrow, her lips curling into a sneer. "You just can't let it go, can you, Mother? Always sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." "Lydia is dead," I snap, my hands balling into fists. "And you're acting like it's just another day at the office. What did you do, Natalie? What did you do to your sister?" For a moment, Natalie's mask slips, and I catch a glimpse of the darkness lurking beneath. "Lydia got what she deserved," she hisses, her voice dripping with venom. "She was weak, pathetic. She never had what it takes to succeed in this world. Not like me." I reel back, stunned by the callousness of her words. "How can you say that? She was your sister, Natalie. She loved you." Natalie scoffs, rolling her eyes. "Love? What good is love in this world, Mother? Power, control, that's what matters. And Lydia? She was nothing more than a pawn in my game." The pieces start to fall into place, and a wave of nausea washes over me. "The scheme," I whisper, my voice trembling. "The one you forced her into. That's what this is about, isn't it?" Natalie's smile is cruel, triumphant. Poor, naive Lydia. She was so desperate to prove herself, to show that she could make it on her own. It was almost too easy to manipulate her, to make her dance to my tune. Rage boils up inside me, and I lunge forward, my hands reaching for Natalie's throat. But she's too quick, sidestepping my attack with a mocking laugh. "Careful, Mother," she taunts, wagging her finger. "You wouldn't want to do anything you'll regret." I'm shaking, tears streaming down my face as I glare at the monster I once called my daughter. "This isn't over, Natalie," I spit, my voice raw with emotion. "I will find out what you did, and I will make you pay." I swear it on Lydia's grave. Natalie's eyes glitter with malice, her smile sharp as a knife. "Good luck with that, Mother. You have no idea who you're dealing with." With that, she turns on her heel and stalks away, leaving me alone in the empty church, my heart shattered beyond repair. But even as the grief threatens to consume me, I feel a flicker of determination spark to life in my chest. Natalie may think she's untouchable, but she's underestimated the power of a mother's love. I will uncover the truth, no matter the cost. I will expose Natalie's crimes and bring her to justice. For Lydia, for the daughter I lost, I will fight, and I will not rest until the truth is revealed, and Natalie pays for what she's done. The contents of the flash drive are worse than I could have ever imagined. Emails, photos, and documents paint a picture of deceit and betrayal so vile, it makes my stomach churn. Natalie, my own daughter, orchestrated a web of lies and manipulation that led to Lydia's downfall. I pore over Lydia's journal entries, each word a knife to my heart. She writes of Natalie's constant belittling, the way she made her feel small and worthless. But it's the entries about the scheme that break me. Lydia's words are filled with desperation, a frantic need to prove herself to Natalie. She talks about the pressure Natalie put on her, the way she convinced her that this was her only chance to make something of herself. And then the devastating realization that it was all a lie. The scheme was a fraud, a way for Natalie to line her own pockets at the expense of her sister's dreams. Lydia's entries become more and more frantic as she realizes the depth of Natalie's betrayal. She's in too deep, and she doesn't know how to get out. I can barely see through my tears as I read the final entry, dated just days before Lydia's death. I can't do this anymore, she writes, her handwriting shaky and uneven. Natalie has ruined everything. She's taken my dreams, my future, and now she's taking my life. I don't know how to escape this hell she's created for me. Anger burns through my veins, white-hot and all-consuming. How could Natalie do this to her own sister? How could she be so cruel, so heartless? I know I can't let this stand. I have to make Natalie pay for what she's done, but I also know I can't do it alone. With shaking hands, I gather the evidence and head to the police station. I tell them everything, from the moment Natalie first approached Lydia with the scheme to the final, devastating entry in her journal. The detectives listen intently, their faces growing grimmer with each revelation. They ask me questions, probing for more details, and I answer as best I can. It's painful, reliving every moment of Lydia's suffering, but I know I have to do it, for her. When I'm finished, the lead detective leans back in his chair, his eyes hard and determined. "We'll investigate this thoroughly, Mrs. Novak," he promises. "If what you're saying is true, your daughter Natalie will face serious consequences." I nod, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. "There's one more thing," I say, my voice trembling. "I think Natalie may have had something to do with Lydia's death. The timing, the circumstances, it's too coincidental." The detective's eyebrows shoot up, and he leans forward, his voice urgent. "What makes you say that?" I take a deep breath, steeling myself. Lydia's journal. She wrote about Natalie, supplying her with drugs. I think she may have given her the dose that killed her. The detective's face hardens, and he nods grimly. "We'll look into it, Mrs. Novak. I promise you, we'll get to the bottom of this." As I leave the station, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. I know the road ahead will be long and painful, but I also know I'm not alone. The truth is on my side, and I will stop at nothing to see justice served. Natalie may have shattered our family, but she underestimated the power of a mother's love. I will fight for Lydia, for the life she should have had, and I will not rest until Natalie pays for her sins. The evidence weighs heavy in my hands as I walk into the police station, a sense of purpose driving my every step. The detectives greet me with grim faces, their eyes filled with a mix of sympathy and determination. They know the gravity of what I'm about to share. I lay out the emails, photos, and journal entries, watching as their expressions shift from shock to disgust. They pore over the documents, piecing together the puzzle of Natalie's deceit. With each new revelation, their resolve grows stronger. Detective Becker, the lead investigator, looks up at me, his voice gentle but firm. "Mrs. Novak, I know this must be incredibly difficult for you, but I promise you we will do everything in our power to bring Natalie to justice." I nod, my throat tight with emotion. "Thank you, Detective. I can't believe she could do this to her own sister, to our family." Detective Becker's eyes are filled with understanding. "Sometimes the people closest to us are capable of the greatest betrayal, but that doesn't make it your fault, Mrs. Novak. You couldn't have known." His words are a small comfort, but the guilt still gnaws at me. If only I had seen the signs earlier. If only I had protected Lydia from Natalie's machinations. I push the thoughts aside, focusing on the task at hand. What happens now, Detective? Detective Becker leans forward, his voice low and serious. We'll bring Natalie in for questioning. With the evidence you've provided, we have enough to charge her with fraud and conspiracy. And if we can prove she supplied Lydia with the drugs that killed her. He trails off, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. My heart clenches at the thought, but I know it's a possibility I can't ignore. Do what you need to do, Detective. I want the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Detective Becker nods, his expression grim. We'll keep you informed every step of the way, Mrs. Novak. You have my word. As I leave the station, I feel a sense of purpose settle over me. Natalie may have destroyed Lydia's life, but I won't let her get away with it. I'll see this through to the end, no matter the cost. The days that follow are a blur of interviews and investigations. The detectives work tirelessly, piecing together the evidence and building their case against Natalie, and with each new development, the truth becomes clearer and more horrifying. Natalie's jealousy and resentment had festered for years, turning into a twisted obsession with power and control. She had manipulated Lydia, exploiting her vulnerabilities and dreams, all for her own gain. And when Lydia had tried to break free, Natalie had taken the ultimate revenge. The final piece of the puzzle falls into place when the toxicology report comes back, confirming my worst fears. The drugs in Lydia's system were a lethal combination, one that could only have been supplied by someone with access and knowledge. Someone like Natalie. I feel a wave of nausea wash over me as the reality sinks in. My own daughter, a murderer. The betrayal cuts deep, leaving me raw and bleeding. But even in the depths of my despair, I feel a flicker of hope. The truth is out there now, and Natalie will have to face the consequences of her actions. Justice will be served, and Lydia will finally be able to rest in peace. I steel myself for the battle ahead, knowing that it won't be easy. Natalie is cunning and ruthless, and she won't go down without a fight, but I'm ready to face her, to look her in the eye and make her answer for what she's done. For Lydia, for the daughter I lost, I will be strong. I will be the voice she can no longer raise, the justice she can no longer seek. And I will not rest until Natalie pays for her sins, no matter the price. The day of reckoning arrives, and I find myself standing outside Natalie's law firm, my heart pounding in my chest. Detective Becker and his team are by my side, their faces set with determination. We're here to confront Natalie, to make her answer for her crimes. As we enter the building, I feel a sense of unease wash over me. The sleek, modern interior feels cold and impersonal, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging inside me. We make our way to Natalie's office, the sound of our footsteps echoing through the halls. Natalie looks up as we enter, her eyes widening in surprise. But the shock quickly fades, replaced by a cold, calculating look. "Mother," she says, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "What brings you here?" Detective Becker steps forward, his voice firm and authoritative. "Natalie Novak, we have evidence linking you to the illegal scheme that defrauded your sister and ultimately led to her death. We also have reason to believe you supplied her with the drugs that killed her." Natalie's face twists into a sneer, her true colors finally showing. "You can't prove anything," she hisses, her eyes darting between us. "Lydia was a drug addict. She did this to herself." I feel a surge of anger course through me, and I step forward, my voice shaking with emotion. "How dare you?" I spit, my hands clenched into fists. "Lydia was your sister. She loved you, and you destroyed her. You manipulated her, lied to her, and then you killed her." Natalie laughs, a harsh, grating sound that sends shivers down my spine. "Oh, please. Lydia was weak. She was always holding me back with her silly dreams and her pathetic art. She got what she deserved." Detective Becker's face hardens, and he motions to his team. "Natalie Novak, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and murder. You have the right to remain silent." As the detectives move in, Natalie's facade finally cracks. She lunges forward, her face contorted with rage. "You can't do this to me," she screams, her voice echoing off the walls. "I'm untouchable. I'm the one with the power here." But the detectives are quick, and they restrain her, snapping handcuffs around her wrists. Natalie thrashes and screams, her carefully crafted persona shattering before our eyes. "You did this to yourself, Natalie," I say, my voice cold and hard. You let your jealousy and greed consume you, and now you'll pay the price. As the detectives lead her away, Natalie's eyes lock with mine, and for a moment I see a flicker of the girl she once was. The sister who played with Lydia, who laughed and dreamed and loved. But it's gone in an instant, replaced by a hatred so deep it takes my breath away. This isn't over, Mother, her voice dripping with venom. I'll make you pay for this. I'll make you all pay. But her threats are empty now, and I watch as she's led out of the office, a shell of the woman she once was. The truth is out there now, and Natalie will face the consequences of her actions. As we leave the building, Detective Becker turns to me, his face softening. You did the right thing, Mrs. Novak. I know it couldn't have been easy but you helped bring a dangerous criminal to justice. I nod, feeling a sense of bittersweet relief wash over me. I just wish I could have done more, I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. I wish I could have saved Lydia. Detective Becker places a comforting hand on my shoulder, his eyes filled with understanding. You did everything you could, Mrs. Novak. Lydia would be proud of you. As we part ways, I feel a sense of purpose settle over me. Natalie may be in custody, but my fight is far from over. I'll make sure she pays for what she's done, and I'll honor Lydia's memory in every way I can. For my daughter, for the light she brought to this world, I will be strong. I will be the justice she deserves, no matter the cost. The interrogation room is cold and sterile, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows on Natalie's face. She sits across from me, her wrists shackled, her eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and fear. Detective Becker is by my side, his presence a silent support. Why, Natalie? I ask, my voice trembling with emotion. Why did you do this to your own sister? Natalie's lips curl into a sneer, her voice dripping with disdain. You always favored her, didn't you? Perfect little Lydia, with her art and her dreams. You never saw me, never appreciated what I could do. I feel a surge of anger course through me, and I lean forward, my eyes locked with hers. I loved you both, Natalie. I wanted nothing more than for you to be happy, to find your own path in life, but you let your jealousy consume you, and look where it's led you. Natalie scoffs, rolling her eyes. Spare me the lecture, Mother. You have no idea what it was like living in Lydia's shadow. She had everything handed to her while I had to fight for every scrap of recognition. Detective Becker clears his throat, his voice firm and steady. Miss Novak, we have evidence that you manipulated your sister into participating in an illegal scheme. We also have reason to believe you supplied her with the drugs that ultimately led to her death. Do you have anything to say for yourself? For a moment, Natalie's facade cracks, and I see a flicker of fear in her eyes. But it's gone just as quickly, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. You have no proof, she hisses, her voice low and venomous. It's all circumstantial. No jury will convict me. I feel a wave of disgust wash over me, and I shake my head in disbelief. How can you be so callous, Natalie? Your sister is dead because of you. Do you feel no remorse, no guilt? Natalie's eyes narrow, and she leans forward, her voice a low, menacing whisper. Guilt? Why should I feel guilty? Lydia was weak, pathetic. She didn't have the strength to survive in this world. I did what I had to do to get ahead, and if she couldn't keep up, that's her problem. I reel back, stunned by the depths of Natalie's cruelty. Detective Becker places a hand on my shoulder, his voice gentle but firm. Mrs. Novak, I think it's time we let the evidence speak for itself. He nods to the officer standing guard, who steps forward with a thick file in hand. Natalie Novak, we have evidence linking you to the fraudulent scheme, including emails, bank records, and witness statements. We also have the toxicology report confirming that the drugs found in Lydia's system were a direct match to those you supplied her with. Natalie's face pales, and for the first time, I see a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. That's not possible, she stammers, her voice losing its edge. I was careful. I covered my tracks. Detective Becker shakes his head, a grim smile on his face. Not well enough, Ms. Novak. We have everything we need to bring charges against you. It's over. Natalie slumps back in her chair, her shoulders sagging in defeat. For a moment, I almost feel a flicker of pity for her. But then I remember Lydia, remember the life that was stolen from her, and my resolve hardens once more. I hope you rot in prison, Natalie, I say, my voice cold and hard. I hope you spend every day of your life haunted by what you've done. You may be my daughter, but you're no longer a part of this family. As the officers lead Natalie away, I feel a sense of bittersweet justice wash over me. Lydia's death will never be undone, but at least now her killer will face the consequences of her actions. I turn to Detective Becker, my eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for helping me bring Lydia justice." He nods, his face softening with compassion. "It's my job, Mrs. Novak, but more than that, it's the right thing to do. Your daughter deserved better, and now she can finally rest in peace." As I leave the station, I feel a sense of purpose settle over me. Natalie may be gone, but Lydia's memory will live on. I'll make sure of it, no matter the cost. The courtroom is packed, the air heavy with anticipation as the judge takes her seat. Natalie sits at the defendant's table, her face a mask of cold indifference. I watch her from the gallery, my heart heavy with a mixture of grief and anger. The prosecutor stands, his voice ringing out clear and strong as he presents the case against Natalie. He lays out the evidence piece by piece, painting a picture of greed, jealousy, and ultimately murder. With each revelation, the courtroom grows more and more silent, the weight of Natalie's crimes hanging heavy in the air. When it's Natalie's turn to speak, she rises from her seat, her head held high. But as she begins to spin her web of lies and excuses, I feel a surge of disgust wash over me. How can she stand there so unrepentant, so unashamed of what she's done? But the jury sees through her facade, and when the verdict is read, the courtroom erupts in a chorus of gasps and murmurs. Guilty on all counts. Natalie's face twists with rage, and for a moment I fear she might lash out. But the bailiffs are quick to restrain her, and she's led away in handcuffs, her screams of protest echoing through the halls. As the courtroom empties, I feel a sense of hollow victory wash over me. Justice has been served, but at what cost? My daughters are gone, one to death and the other to prison. Our family is shattered, broken beyond repair. I make my way to Lydia's studio, the place where she once poured her heart and soul into her art. The room is just as she left it, a testament to the life she'll never get to live. As I wander through the space, my eyes fall on a series of paintings tucked away in the corner. I pull them out, my breath catching in my throat as I take in the images before me. They're portraits of our family, rendered in Lydia's signature style. But it's not the technical skill that strikes me. It's the love and warmth that radiates from each brushstroke. There's a painting of Lydia and Natalie as children, their arms wrapped around each other, their faces split in identical grins. Another shows the four of us gathered around the dinner table, laughing and talking, a perfect snapshot of happier times. As I stare at the paintings, I feel a sudden rush of emotion wash over me. Lydia may be gone, but her love, her spirit, lives on in these images. She captured the best of us, the moments of joy and togetherness that defined our family. I know then, with a sudden clarity, what I must do. I'll honor Lydia's memory, not just by seeking justice for her death, but by celebrating her life. I'll take these paintings and I'll share them with the world. I'll let them see the beauty and the talent that was taken from us too soon. I'll open a gallery in Lydia's name, a place where her art can live on and inspire others. It won't bring her back, but it will ensure that her legacy endures, that her light continues to shine. As I gather up the paintings, I feel a sense of purpose wash over me. This is how I'll keep Lydia's memory alive, how I'll find meaning in the face of such senseless tragedy. Natalie may have taken my daughter from me, but she can't take away the love and the pride I feel for her. I step out of the studio, the paintings clutched to my chest, and I feel a sense of peace wash over me. The road ahead won't be easy, but I know now that I'm not alone. Lydia's spirit will guide me, will give me the strength to keep going, no matter what lies ahead. And so I begin, one step at a time, to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I'll build something new from the ruins, something beautiful and strong, just like my Lydia. And in doing so, I'll find a way to heal, to honor the daughter I lost, and to keep her memory alive, now and forever.